Okay. So we're really going to start on 35, but let's look at a few things here since now you know you actually have to do some of this stuff. Can you open a file for reading? Right there. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Unless you want to Mac.
So actually, it's
That wouldn't work on mine. I had to like.
you had to put something in there. I forget what it is because I did it on my Mac too.
It's like /desktop/.
You had to specify the actual path. What if you did dot /? In other words, what if you did it like this? See if this would work. That means current path input. That might fix it for you. It was something very easy to fix.
That's only going to work on a. It won't work on a Unix system or a Linux or a Mac.
Or is it that one?
That
one. Try that one. Try it that way, or that way. Well, no, I think it's this way. I'm pretty sure it's this way, Caitlin. I'm pretty sure it's period / and then the file name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's exactly like that. And then obviously the file name will change. Okay. But it's close to something like that.
I also have to like import OS.
You might have to access the file system. Yeah. There's a, you know, when you get languages like Java and Python and all those that are really platform independent, but sometimes you need other stuff to make it work. So
why do you have to do the R?
For read. Remember, and to write, we use a, for reading with an R, what do we write with? A W, very good. Okay, so there's reading a file. Don't work on Homer right now, by the way. There's writing a file, so you can write that as well, very simply. Make sure you close them. You will not get an error if you don't close it, by the way. I proved it. What now?
If we don't close it,
it will not error out. Yeah, it does the whole garbage collection thing at the end of that, but still it's a good idea to do it. But I do know if you close it too early, that does cause an issue.
So it's best to do that at the very bottom.
Well, what I did was in the function to read in the prepositions, I open it, read them in, close it, return it.
Oh.
I mean, you don't need to keep it open after that because you've read them into a list. You got the list. Why do you need to have the file open anymore? Same with the read the paragraph. I opened it, read in the paragraphs, closed it. I read them into a list, closed it, randomly picked one and returned it. So it really doesn't need to stay open after that. In my output area, I open it, output, close, done. So yeah, they're not be open very long. All right, so there's opening, there's closing. You need read line to read from a file. Okay, so whatever you call yours, just read it with read line. Okay, and let's see. There's read line. Oh, check that out. That might be very handy for you. While line is not equal to nothing, this will allow you to read until the end of the file.
Is that where we put the random also?
Well, you're gonna have to
If you're
read them all
going to read
in.
a random line.
Well, so this is reading in one line. And this is reading in another line. But why not read them in and instead of, why not just say you have a list called line? You literally could do list.append that. And what you could do is this. You could say line equals that, which is a list now. Then you could read it in. Then you could do, well, stupid to have the same name. I don't want to overwrite the whole thing because they're using regular lines there. Then you read in the next one. Then you do, I can't line it up. Line.append. Okay, the reason I did it that way was I created a list. I read in the line, but then I appended the line to the list. And then, because you really need to check if it equals nothing. So if I'm appending each time, it'll be hard to check if it equals nothing. So one reason I left it that way. Then you do something to it. Then you read in the next line, and append that one. Read the next one, and you keep going. So that's pretty basic stuff for reading in multiple lines. All right. Okay, here we got to convert it. You're going to have to do some conversions because you're going to output a number and a string, but not all that much stuff. Writing to a file, you dot write. It's literally dot write, and then whatever you want to write. What I did on mine was everything I want to output to the screen, I put into a string variable so that I could print the string or write to the file. I literally have print string, write to file. It's the same thing.
And that's how you would send it to the secondary file we need.
Right. When you're writing it, whatever the file, whenever we open a file for writing, so this is going to write hello world to wherever that file is. Then just close it. That's all there is to it. Okay. Let's see what else. Totals. Yeah, if you do need to specify on a Windows machine, do it that way. On Linux, it's the opposite. And Mac is Linux, by the way. It's made off of OpenBSD. Open or free? I think it's open. Okay. Split. You need split, and you also need strip. Okay. You can use split. Now, splitting it, we're going to go to a better example here. Come on, show me another example. Looking for a better example. There's strip. What does strip do again?
Remove to the left.
It takes off whatever the blank spaces. You can take off the periods. You can take off whatever. In this example here, so our string is James with a carriage return. We just say strip. We actually get James with no carriage return. We say James space carriage return. We do our strip again. It takes off the space and the carriage return. If it does no /n is the carriage return, it's really carriage return line feed. So strip removes that. You will need to use strip. Now, if you use plain strip, it actually does it on both sides, which that's fine as well. I recommend using regular strip because it'll get the front and the back. Okay. Because if you have a bunch of sentences and you use split with a period, well, it splits on a period, but you got a space after the period. So you're gonna end up with a space in your sentence. So that's when you use strip to get rid of it. Okay, reading words. Okay, and you can literally read them one at a time, like they did here. Basically what I did. So if a line is Mary had a little lamb, or if it's your random paragraph, if you did line.split, it will split it based upon the white space, and you end up with a list. The list will contain Mary. This will be element 0, element 1, element 2, element 3. So I really went through here and just picked quite a few of the things that were in this chapter. All right, so split's pretty simple there. That's what you come up with. There's your list. Mary had a little lamb. So you definitely need the split function. All right, you can strip off certain things. Maybe you want to remove the period, remove the comma, remove the question mark, but you don't want to remove everything. You just want certain things. So you can specify just what you want to remove. All right, and here there with lyrics, you're going to split and remove the stuff at the end. I think this is where we left off, wasn't it? Okay, so other things we can do. So split returns a list of words from strings. So your random paragraph is literally a bunch of words. There you go. Split will break that sentence into individual words. Simple enough there. Okay. Let's try that. Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to create a file for today. Actually, I'll call it file new. Today's the 24th. File save. Put this on my desktop. We're going to call this one, what I call the last one I did, 10/24. 2018 in class.py. I'm calling mine. Okay, so if I have a string, my string equals Mary had a little lamb. Okay. Now, if I just said print my string and run this thing, that's what I get. Okay. It literally printed out my string. Nothing new there. But what if I said print out my string.split? Watch what this one does. It actually took my string and split it and then returned it. So there was my normal string, and now we have my string, but it's literally Mary is element 0, had is element 1, A is element 2, little is element 3, and lamb is element 4. Okay? So we're literally just splitting our string apart. Now, doing this way is fine, but if you need to use this list afterwards, you probably want to put it into a list. So maybe something like my list or something. Okay. Then here, I would just get rid of this and put it in my list. Because you guys actually have to return it and use it, so I'd probably do something like that. Still get the same results, but now I'm saving it, and then I could return it. I could do something else with it. But what if I wanted to split on something else? I think they covered that in the slides here. Okay, you can split based upon a separator. So let's pick one. So what do we want to split on? How about an A? Let's split on an A. Okay, now let me shrink this. So rather than splitting on the white space, or in other words, the space between the words, now we split on the letter A. So I got M, then RY. Now you'll notice the A is missing because it uses kind of a delimiter for your split function. So now we literally, now little didn't get broken apart. Why did little get broken apart? There's no A's in it. But pretty much everything else had an A in it. So it kind of destroyed my sentence. Okay. All right. And while I'm here, how could I print my string out without that period at the end? I want to print my string again, which I'm going to show you here. There's my string right there at the bottom. But how can I print it without, I'll bring it up so y'all can see it. How can I print it without the period at the end?
Bracket, colon, -1.
Bracket, colon, -1.
But you can just strip the period.
I could strip period as well, but you don't want to in your homework assignment. Because if you have multiple prepositions, you want them common delimited. So if you just strip all the periods, you kind of stop.
If I strips it,
Oh,
it only strips it from the ends of the string.
Oh, good point. It does. Good point. Yeah, that would work then. Yeah, you're good. Good point.
The R strip.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's put a comma here, and let's do what I did on mine was say we had. I hate when I go away. Go away. Say right now we have a space, a comma and a space. Well, what it did is it got rid of the space but left the comma, so you could always put a 2 here. Now it'll get rid of the comma and the space. But you're right, I could have done strip, R strip, and we need this one. So let's strip the comma space. So it should do the same thing. Yep, it worked perfectly. Okay, so either way will work.
How would you know if there's a space there? Would you be able to tell because there's multiple
Well,
output statements?
Let's try this. I'm going to just strip off the comma only, okay? Did it get it? No, it didn't because there is a space there. If I put my cursor there, you can see there's something there. So, yeah, I tell you, a lot of times when I'm outputting something, say I didn't know for sure, I would do this. I do this so frequently. Because that way, when it outputs, I know exactly. Because I told it to output 3 A's, then my string, and then 3 A's. So you can see the 3 A's is right before Mary, but the other 3 A's are not after the comma.
You
Yes.
can always do like a catch-all with some really like string cleansing, where if you do strip before, do a strip and then do your specified strip. So do an initial strip for the ending spaces,
Oh.
and then a second strip to remove comma.
You could do that. But what if, okay, you could do a strip and then the comma, right? But what if it was a space and then a comma? So you have to do the comma first. But yeah, you can do multiples like he's saying. Like what you could do, can you do them on the same line? Let's find out.
I know you can in PowerShell.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can here. Let's try it.
Yeah, can you do double?
I'm not positive. I don't know if it supports method. Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah, it's called method call chaining or function call chaining. What we did here was we told it to take my string, strip off the white space, and then strip off the commas. So that didn't work. So there's many different ways to do it.
Or you literally could have hit space bar in the first, like you did the first time.
Yeah.
Comma space.
Not to jump ahead, and wouldn't this assignment be easier if we built a class that,
Yeah, but we're not nearly there yet.
okay,
Yeah, that's why a lot of this stuff is like, man, it'll be so much easier, but no, we're not there yet. All right. So,
is that an alternative to complete the assignment?
yes, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, William's got a valid point. If you know some advanced functionality, I'm totally fine with that. As long as the results are the same. Now, years ago, I was teaching, and this guy turned in a program. It was amazing. It said all this stuff, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So I took off points. He's like, "You don't understand. I added so much more to it. But it didn't do what I wanted. I wanted this remote control. I didn't want a new SUV. I wanted a remote control. So as long as you give me the remote control with other stuff, we're fine. So yeah, I'm fine as long as it does what we asked. If you want to write it with advanced functionality, that's fine. Yeah. Someone did on one of the last programs. Might be a different class, but someone did something real nice. Okay. So we can split based on the separator. There's also something called max split. It says if max split is provided, then only that number of splits will be made. So maybe you only want to split twice or 4 times or whatever. So I don't know the usage for that. I can't think of one offhand, but I'm sure there is one. Okay. Can also split lines. It says returns a list containing the individual lines of a split string using the new line character as a delimiter. And yours will be working with periods, so you're fine. Okay. Here's some strings. You can see here they split it based upon a comma and got that. This one here, they did it without specifying anything, so they ended up splitting on white space. This one here, they specified it with white space, and you end up pretty much getting the same thing. But why did they get this extra thing right here? Does anyone know?
Double space.
Because it's a double white space. So, yeah, it gets it tough. And here you can split by commas. Not commas, colons. I will be careful when working with values to split a string by. Like when I wrote my one for John the Ripper, I needed something that I could split that wasn't ever going to be in one of the strings. So I ended up using the double tilde. The thing to the left of the number 1 key, the uppercase of that thing, because, I mean, I found everything, apostrophes and word, all this other stuff was in my dictionary file, but I never found that one doubled. So I used that as what I put in between my stuff, and I could split based upon that, and it caused no problems. But yeah, splitting based upon stuff is a tough business, especially when you don't know how the input's going to be given to you.
Does Python not have like a comma separated value method?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yes, it does. Yeah. That's what I use when I write it out to, like for bringing to D2L and stuff like that. Yes, you can read in one, you can write out one. Yes, there's a lot of other stuff you can do like that. Now, we can use the read method to read an individual character or more. So here in their example here, they're reading 1 character from a file. This becomes handy, for instance, like I teach a digital forensics class where we have to read the file signatures Okay? And the way you do that is you look at the hexadecimal data or the hexadecimal values of a file. So a PDF file, I don't know if you're aware of this, always starts with %, %PDF. That's how we know it's a PDF file. I don't care what you name it. I don't care what the extension is. A valid PDF file always starts with %, %PDF. Okay? That's actually the ASCII value of it. But you could use this to read in a certain number of characters to find out what type of file it is. It's just one way you could do it. Okay? And we'll cover that a whole bunch more in another class. So you can specify how many characters to read. Okay? In this one here, they're going to read one character. You want to read characters one at a time. Okay? Reading records. For each record in a file, data records are probably the #1 usage of files. You want to store data. I mean, Google. How much y'all pay for your Google accounts? Nothing. How is that possible? They're storing everything. And it was funny. I asked my wife about this last night. You do realize if you search for something on your phone or you email for something or you post something, everybody's reading all that. Facebook's reading it. Google's reading it. Then you start getting ads based on that stuff. Did you all ever notice that? Well, maybe it'll be a Facebook ad or whatever, or a recommended something in Instagram. Okay.
YouTube.
Well, one thing I still haven't figured out, I literally asked her last night, because there's a certain type of pen I like to use that writes really nice. Well, I ran out. I had one left. So I took that pen into the office, handed it to my secretary, and said, hey, could you order me more of this pen? So she's ordered me some. That pen was on my advertising feed this morning. How did they get that? I didn't email her. And I do know she did email the dean and CC me that said, I've ordered Ken a pen. I'm wondering if she somehow included what the pen was. It was literally that specific. The G2 gel pen was in my feed. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not like you're the only person in the world that likes that particular pen.
But why did that
Everyone
pen
does.
just show up? You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is, if Google knows you need or you're included in a CC for pens, then they
Oh,
might
that
have
could
just
be a
said,
comment
they
then.
might have just said, hey, this is a really great pen. Here, why don't you try it? It may not.
Oh, okay, that could be. It just seemed it was kind of, wow, that was the same pen I asked for.
Scary.
Just appeared. It
Well,
was
I mean, try an experiment.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
video games are just as
Do
bad.
a very
You have your
honest.
phone next to you while
Yeah.
you're playing. Your ads, if you watch YouTube or something, will pick up on what you were talking about.
yeah, it's nuts.
So they're gonna go, did you see the new Fallout beta that just came out? And then all of a sudden you got 2 ads for Fallout that you didn't even know existed.
This is why encryption is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't want people to know what kind of pens you like. Okay. But data records, very important thing. And without data, I mean, Google couldn't be free. Okay. You know, it's crazy. Okay. Here's an example where they're going to read through records. I'm not going to walk through this. You're welcome. They're literally just reading it in, stripping off the data. Then they're reading in the next line, and they're doing part of it. So what they did is they read in some text. They probably split it based upon the colon. And they got numbers, and they got text, and they can go through. Really, it's up to whoever writes the data file. Okay. Then from that point on, everybody will be using that format. And you know, when I wrote a program for when people take leave in the military, when you enter a social security, y'all know what social security number is? How? So it's like some numbers, then a couple numbers, then some more numbers. What do you put between the numbers?
Dash.
A dash?
Yeah.
Not a colon?
No.
Not a space? Trust me, people do. I put a dash as well. When I wrote the program, I did it with dashes. So what I did was, when a new person went to take leave, so we got Summer over here is going on leave. So she enters a new leave request. I put it in with dashes, okay? Well, then maybe when she wants to go on leave again, William puts it in without dashes. What I did was I looked, oh, it's not the same person because with and without dashes is 2 different numbers. Oh, they never fixed it. We decided it would take 2 years to fix that problem. Because I was saving all this data, in multiple different formats now, which we weren't unaware of originally. And data files were stored, and we would have to somehow figure out a way to sanitize all that input, read in all the data, look for every combination of character between it. It was just a nightmare. So it's an example of writing it correctly the first time would have saved a lot of time. But I wrote this with about this much training in computer science. Might have had one class somewhere. But everybody loved it. I mean, they even used it at the Pentagon. They kept calling me. Everybody wanted to use this darn program. So I kept giving it to them. And I found the errors in it. I'm like, oh, crap. Oh, well.
They asked your permission, didn't they?
What now?
Didn't you work for them?
I did.
Oh, okay.
But I was technically a jet engine mechanic working in the computer area. I just wrote this program for somebody. And she liked it, shared it with a friend. And they shared it. And everybody else shared it. I mean, really, it was owned by the government, the program was. So we were going to try to fix it, but we said it would take too long to fix it. So never did fix it. All right, there's more examples. What if it was delimited on the space? So I will tell you, delimiting on spaces is not a good idea. What if I had a name or a file of names and I use space as a delimiter? Would that be a good option? First name, last name. Would a space be a good delimiter between them? No, because some last names have multiple words. Some first names are multiple words. So you really need a different delimiter. Okay. So what if it was not separated by a delimiter? You know, like this one here. Obviously, it's not a delimiter because if it was a space, then we would have united as one, states, that is another. So that would become an issue. Okay. So become some company that have more than one word, we cannot simply use blank spaces as delimiters. So we can use R split, in other words, only get one. In other words, delimiter based from the right, kind of what you were talking about, but only return one. I guess that would be a good example of it. You can also use this digit. If you're getting in numbers, retrieve a character, then check if it's a digit. And if it is, add it up. If it isn't a digit, don't add it up. So lots of different things you can do with the records. Okay. Yeah, so lots there. We're just not going to walk through all these because I want to get to this next section. Okay. Command line arguments. I have not had you do this yet. I don't know if we will. But when, when you run your program through idle, you bring up idle, you hit F5. Well, you can run it from the command line. You can actually say Python, then your file name, or no, your Python script name. Then you can actually specify different arguments to it, which is actually very nice. Like Josh taught scripting the other day, you can specify all kinds of stuff to it. And these are arguments. And they come in like this. Arg0, arg value 0 is the script name. Arg value 1 is that first thing. That would be arg value 2, and so on and so forth.
Verbose.
Verbose, okay. There you go. It's really just, now you can have anything.
You don't even have, you can even just type Python, and then once it goes into Python from command line, you can do program py.
So you can type this and then this.
Well, go to Python and go to a command line. Just type Python or Python 3.
Python 3.
Now type everything that was after that Python in there, and it'll let you do the exact same thing from now you're in Python.
Oh, nice. Okay. Obviously, I'm in 3. Okay. I make him do that, and in one of my other classes, I have him run a program that accepts a number than the base, like base 10 or base 2 or base 8 or base 16. So they basically have to read in the command line arguments and do something with it. If we do something like that, I'll cover this again. If I remember right, you must import something for this one. Do we have to? I can't remember, but if we do, I'll cover it again. All right. Yeah, that's all they really covered. Processing text files. You can read in files like they have here. You can read and write them. You guys will be doing that. I don't think we need to walk through this because it's really the same stuff we've already done. They're just to be different ideas. You can look through this. I didn't find anything that would really help you with your program, but it is there. Okay. Yes. Okay. here's what you need to include in your program. Exception handling. Okay, exception handling, I'm going to show you what I did on mine. I can find it. It's recording, darn it. I'm going to pause the recording. Sorry. What you try to, we can use it to detect errors, because if you don't have that stuff in there and a file's missing, it crashes, or many different things could happen. So we want to be able to detect errors. We want to be able to handle errors. Just do a lot of different things with errors. Okay. You can also raise, which basically say kind of like raising your hand. Think of it like that. You can raise an exception. Okay. When you raise them, you can do stuff based upon that. You have error handlers that handle all that stuff. So let's look a little bit about this here. So the exception class has a lot of stuff too. We have an exception. We have warnings, standard errors. We have different types of errors. We even have predefined errors. Or user-defined errors that you can create your own as well. And you know how near the beginning of class I said I didn't believe in dividing by zero?
Yeah.
I finally believe it now. I was reading a book and the guy actually discussed it to the point where I understand it now.
It's like multiplying by infinity.
I know, but it's like, it was never, it's one of those things. I know it's a rule. I didn't like the explanation I ever received.
It's not that you can't do it. It's that if you can absolutely divide something by zero, but then what do you have?
Right, you get
know
infinity.
what you have. It's
Right, you can't do anything
multiplying
with
by infinity.
But when you run a calculator, my point is, if I'm bringing up Windows Calculator, or on my phone even, I divide by zero. Does it say, hey, if you're dividing by zero, just say you can't? Or does it, you know what I mean? So, but I finally understood that now, so I'm happy. It only took me 56 years to understand. It was in a book called How to Invent Everything. It's a very weird book. Okay, so let's look at, I want to get to the part about handling exceptions right here. This is slide 70. This is what you guys need to know. The way this works is you have to try and accepts. Okay, try means, hey, try to do something. Okay, if it doesn't work, then we handle the errors. Okay, in this example here, try to open this file. Okay, try and then literally put the open statement just like we saw. Okay, and process it, do whatever you want to do it. And if for some reason this doesn't work, we have errors, many kinds of errors. The one you guys need to worry about is like I/O error. So as you're going to try to open this file, if there's an input-output error, say could not open file. Okay. I didn't show you guys what it does if there's no file found. I'm going to show you my output real quick.
Isn't there a file not found error?
There is, but this one will be fine. There is a file not found error. Let me do something here real quick. Okay, so if I run my program, it works perfectly. Okay, we all see that it works perfectly. Well, what if my file's changed? Say my prepositions file is now called something different. Okay, now when I run my program, it says error open preposition file. So rather than crashing and burning, it just tells me, hey, I can't open up this file. I could have had it reprompt me for a different name. There's lots of different things I could have done. But that's the way I just real basically chose to handle it. And if the random paragraphs file is not there, in other words, if that one is named something else, and I run that one, it says same thing, error opening paragraph file. So that's how I did the error checking.
Oh, so you have it like saying which one it reads?
Yeah. Just like in the error here, see here it says print, you could not open input file. I just said, rather print, basically say could not open paragraph file or could not open preposition file. You can type in there whatever you want.
So we should do that with that one.
Yeah. That way, if I rename the paragraph file because I have them already. But if I want to see, to check yours, I'll rename it to something else. I'll be able to tell if your program handles it. Okay? Pretty simple to do. That's real basic, try and accept. And you can do other stuff. You can really take the error object, like they're talking about down here. There's an exception class that provides so much function. Like there is a file now found error. And I think it's actually, see here, they're using IO error as well. But you can have all kinds of different errors. I'm not going to require you to do any special error checking at this point other than the file not found. Okay? And you can output errors. You can actually output the actual error string. I'm not going to require you to do that either. And let's see what else. And then there's finally. Okay. So in here, actually, you know, that's an error on mine. Because I tried to, actually, no, mine's okay. But here they're trying to write to the file. If they can't write to the file, they close it. So they open it, try to write to it, and then close it. Final is like, you know, after final clause is used when you need to take some action whether or not an exception has been raised. So you open it. If there's some problem with it, no matter what, we're going to close it. Understand? Yes, good.
And just going back a little bit, the W means you're writing, the R would mean you're reading.
Correct. Now this one here, since the opening is before the try, I mean, obviously it's going to create a new file anyway, but maybe it can't write to the drive or something, then this could still crash because it's outside of a try. It's probably not the best option to have. Okay. And here's where the example of finally, and they're opening it, they're trying to write to it, you can't write to it for some reason or whatever, and then finally just says close it no matter what. Okay. So throw exceptions early. You really should check everything. I'm not requiring you to do that, but in the real world, writing a program, you want to check everything. You want to sanitize all in, but whatever people give you, you should be checking. This is still going, isn't it? Okay, good. Okay. It says, throw exceptions early. When a method detects a problem that it cannot solve, it is better to throw an exception rather than try to come up with an imperfect fix. Catch exceptions late. It says, conversely, a method should only capture an exception if it can really remedy the situation. In other words, catch, if there's an error, catch tries to fix it. You can output something, you can ask for get input again. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do with that. Okay. It says the finally clause is executed whether the try block is exited in any way, whether it was successful or not. Okay. And there's their example again.
So finally happens before accept?
No, normally, okay. It says the finally clause is executed whenever the try block is exited in any way, either after completing successfully, after completing with an except, or when an exception was raised in the try block and not handled correctly. Okay. Yeah, why do they? Oh, because they have two of them. Duh. Look at them. They have an internal try and an external try. So yeah, that's why.
External.
So that try there in the middle is where the finally is. Okay. Now with, you can open a file and then use the with. So with this file, do something to it. So there's just lots of different ways to do it. Find one you like and just use it. Okay. Input error. How can we handle input errors? Well, a lot of times you can format or convert it. We learned about converting already with string or int or float. Okay. And there are risks here. You're trying to read input from a file. It might not exist. It might be in the wrong format. So here's where you can have some value error exception and just lots of different stuff you can do there. I'm not requiring you to do that at this point. And I just feel it's a little farther than I want to cover. So here's input. That's really what we just talked about. Here's readData. And I think we're just about done. Okay. Yeah, there's the example of it. All right. that's the end of these slides. I want to open up. Actually, we really didn't much to it at all, did we? You know, I'm not going to make you submit anything today. It'll be easier. I don't have to create one. Any questions on this, your current program, before we end class today? I'm going to stop the recording.